Good morning. Denise Dryden out here on Bainbridge Island. I'm doing my weekly talk, and today I want to talk about something that might be going on out there. Like, have you noticed an acceleration sort of agitation over the last couple of weeks, over the last couple of months, maybe even? For those of us who are energetically sensitive, we're picking up on these nuances of what's coming through the environment, and it's invisible to the eye, right? Yet profoundly impactful to us and our energetic system. So here are some of the things you might be experiencing. Is there an internal agitation in your nervous system, in your energetics, like just a high hum that's irritating you? Is there restlessness? Maybe even sleep. Maybe it's I can't sit still. I don't know what to do. It's hard to sleep. I'm not sleeping throughout the night. A short-temperedness, like a very short fuse on anything that's going on out there. Don't want to, can't make me, all of that. Pressure in your chest, pressure in your throat, pressure in your head, headaches, joint pain. Or is there just this general uneasiness where you're scanning everywhere and you're like, I don't know what's going on, but something's going on and I don't like it. I can feel it. It doesn't feel good. So what if all of these are things that happen when you're highly sensitive, right? When you're sensitive and you pick up on the subtle or not so subtle things that are in our environment or things that are being picked up by our senses. Makes sense. So over the last 2 years, I've been looking at what shows up in the DSM with adolescents and young adults that are in therapeutic programs, and looking at some of the diagnoses that we keep attaching to highly sensitive, reactive kiddos, right? So there's anxiety, there's struggles with attention, there's depression. Sometimes it's called oppositional defiance or parent-child relation, right? And then there's these things like high levels of reactivity and frustration, isolation, or explosive behaviors. And usually it's showing up in schools, and it's showing up in family systems and settings, and it's isolated, but it's big. And it makes sense to me that these high levels of reactivity are what happens when our neurological system gets activated and we don't know what to do with it, right? So DSM is starting to say there's some really consistent patterns in what we're seeing. But I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what it is like to be highly sensitive. And it means that you're reacting beyond the neurological, that there's more information coming in. And it expands into what happens when it expands into emotions. So we know that our senses and the environment and our neurological firings are going off, but what if they're also going off because there are emotions involved? So Dr. Judy Orloff talks about the empath a lot in her recent writings, and she defines the empath as both highly sensitive and a fine-tuned instrument of emotion. I love that empaths pick up the states of being, states of mind, states of emotions in other beings, people, animals, anything that has a live cellular structure that can be experienced or felt. Which leads me to the topic today, which is what happens if you're just an angry, pissed off empath, right? All of this stuff is talking to you all the time and you don't know what to do with it. So in the last 25 years, I've worked with in education, I've worked in therapeutic care, and I've worked in family systems, and primarily worked with pissed off teenagers and young adults. And usually there's this dissonance between the open reader, the empath who sees everything, feels everything, knows everything, their intuition is super hyper vigilant, and they're in a system with parents or teachers or coaches or siblings or friends who think that you don't know. They pretend like you don't know. They don't even want to know what you know or what you feel. So what this can look like is parents who fight or who struggle financially or who pick on each other or who are out of balance. There might be addiction in there. There might be something going on. And they hide it. They're secrets. They try to shield it from the kids. And the kid's like, what are you guys doing? And you act so different when you're around each other compared to when you're by yourself. It can also look like being in a classroom with a lot of different personalities that are sort of all over the place, and sometimes there's emotional bullying. There's emotional strategic placements within the classroom. And you've got a lot of teachers and adults in the school that aren't able to understand the subtleties of what's going on out in the hallways, in the classroom, where the bullying's taking place, right? Makes sense. You can get pretty pissed off about that. When you're an athlete, when you like to be outside and you want that opportunity and challenge to play sports and to be part of a team, and you like the sort of cohesiveness of the team mentality, and you trust your coach to take you there. Well, what happens if your coach isn't a healthy person, or they have judgments or prejudices or patterns, or the same like the adult parent is that they have their own issues and they're hiding it, but it's coming out in how they talk, how they pick on certain players, how they identify what they're working on. This can also transition into our work, when you have to really work for a living, right? As we all do. And your job matters to you, yet either your coworkers or your managers are out of sync with themselves, and they're unaware of the stressors or the pressures or the risks that they keep asking you to take by putting in longer hours or compromising on things, or that they keep secrets, and you're trying to do your best, but you don't know what to do. So these are all examples of external situations, usually involving other people, where the energetically sensitive can feel 10 to 100 times more information coming in at them than the typical human. And there aren't very many ways to accommodate this. So imagine that you've got, a container, certain size, right? And you have all this information coming in. And so it fills up, and then there's no place for it to go. So it's coming in, there's no release for it, and so what often happens is that we boil inside. We start to get angry, and we get explosive, and we get toxic. And, in our family, we used to call that volcanoing. And it can be kind of scary when like you manage, you think you're managing, you manage, and then it just goes off. So I remember introducing this concept of what would it be like to be an overwhelmed, highly sensitive to some of the parents that I coach in my practice. And it was really interesting because they were like, no way. That would never be my kid, because my kid is angry. My kid is the most insensitive person I know. They're mean. They hurt you on purpose. They're explosive. They punch walls. They break furniture. They kick things. They steal. They break all the boundaries in the house. They won't come home when they're told to. They won't get out of bed to go to school. They smoke a ton of weed, and they drink, and they experiment with drugs, and they're just this really nasty, oppositional, defiant kid. And I'm like, but I wonder what makes that oppositional defiance show up. It's anger, right? It's just anger at the whole situation. So when anger shows up in a sensitive or an empath, it can go internal, isolation, refusal. It can sort of show up like buried anger, and it can come out as acne or weight gain. And, they self-medicate with video games, porn, reading, excessive reading, cutting, anything that provides an outlet for this kind of internal stress. It's like compacting. Or the external, which is they get aggressive and they try to control everything. Like, if you would stop doing that, then I would be okay. They're explosive. They're insensitive. They're bullies. They hurt back. Hey, you hurt me first, so I'm hurting you back. Kind of like the Great Hulk, right? I can do it for so long, and then I just get in there and I start hurting things, throwing things, making things. I don't know what to do with all of this pent-up energy. So the solution is that if we own the anger, like, yeah, it makes sense. I'm holding a lot of things. I'm holding much more than anyone's really aware of. So get an understanding of what you see and what you feel and what you're reading and picking up in the environment and what your experiences are. That's the first thing to do. Second thing is read a lot. Get curious. Do some research. Watch videos like this. Learn what it means to be sensitive and empathic. Get some awareness so that you have an idea that you're not by yourself. That's the second thing. The third thing is to not take it personally. All the stuff that's coming at you, especially right now when there's so much anger in our country and so much anger in the world, is it's not personal. It's not about you. You just don't have to hold it anymore. So it's just energy. Like Einstein said, it's just energy. It can be transformed, but it's not yours. So don't take it personally. And then the fourth thing is to create 2 or 3 solid tools of what you do when you're activated. When you start to feel either the need to pull back and isolate or the need to like explode and get out there, what can you do to stop this from happening? Okay, what do? So one is to breathe through your solar plexus. The other is to get out in nature. Nature has a natural calming effect on all of us. Let the trees take it off of you. Find relaxing things that you can do to channel your focus. DBT skills, knitting, crocheting, woodworking. I cook. I used to, when I was raising my kids, I used to weed in the garden. I go on long hikes. I get some fresh air. Just go breathe. When you breathe, you cannot hold anger in as much. It calms your system down. So Lee Harris did an June energy report, and he talks a lot about anger. That anger is something that we have to actually recognize, and that when it's electrically and energetically charged, and it's like Kundalini. We have to build it up, but then we have to fire it out of our body and learn how to use it. So he calls them energy flushes. So we do all we possibly can to flush it out. So we get, we have a lot going on the earth right now. We have a lot going on in our politics, in our women's issues, in our racial issues, in our gender issues. It's ugly, right? It's so ugly. So of course you're going to feel it. And of course you're going to have some pent up reactions to it, not even to mention what's going on astrologically and with solar flares and whatnot that are just sort of agitating this all the time. So when you get yourself out there and you need to sort of line up and start using your tools, go do things. Go release this, like chop wood. Go chop a whole pile of wood if you have to. Go out and yell and scream. Go take a walk. I used to drive up to the top of Mount Bachelor when I lived in Bend and scream all the way up. Get a big stick and an old cushion and beat the crud out of it, right? Do what you can to get it up and flowing out of you so that it's not stuck in you. So get to know how to do all of these things and find healthy outlets and ask for help and for tools. If this isn't going to go, because this isn't going to go away anytime soon. This is just the new normal, is learning how to understand that these emotions are going to get bigger and we have to learn how to contain them. So this is the kind of stuff that I do. And if you're interested, you can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. And it's okay to be angry right now. It's okay to find ways to get it up and out. Just don't take it out on each other, okay? Be kind. Have a good Sunday. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.